Hello, everyone. So this is an unannounced or unplanned live stream. I don't expect a whole lot of you watching it live, but nevertheless, I have a little thing going on at home this weekend, so I don't have enough time to make the slides as usual. So I'm doing this quick update on COVID-19, and I know many of you have been asking for an update video on this topic, and given the current landscape of the new subvariants and new vaccines coming up in a few weeks, let's cut to the chase and go through some of the important points, hopefully in 6 7 minutes of time. Okay. So what subvariants are we facing now and in the near future? Okay, so that's the first questions that I want to look at. So let's look at this CDC tracking data. So XBB has been the major Omicron subvariant for most of 2023 until more recently, a different subvariant EG5. Okay, here in the kind of eggshell color has taken over, and most recent CDC tracking data estimate that EG5 made up about 20.6% of new infections, and EG5 is a descendant of XBB, and along that family line, there is also another one called the FL.1.5.1. Okay, FL, that's very a mouthful of name. Now, these two subvariants carried a mutation on the spike protein known as the F456L. Okay, that's not the detail, which makes them more infectious than other subvariants. So, really, there's no surprise here. Okay, given the landscape of these new subvariants that we've seen in the past year or two or so. Now, this virus, is expected to mutate and gain a more infectious advantage with every dominating variant. So the problem arises when the new variant has a significant mutation in spike protein, like what we saw in 2021 when the virus jumped from the Delta to the Omicron. So are we seeing anything like that similarly right now? Okay, so let's hold that thought there. Now, currently, the EG5 and FL.1.15, okay, variants that is showing here on the CDC tracking table here comprise a total about what 34%, roughly 34%. We just mentioned these variants mutate within the same lineage of the XBB ladder. So from the XBB 1.5 there, okay, which we talked about it, I think in earlier this year, right? Okay, so it is really nothing out of the ordinary. It's pretty normal in a sense of speaking. All right, but the problem comes here with a new mutated subvariants that has been recently identified here called BA.2.86. Okay, this could have a little bit higher chance of becoming more problematic, and I'll explain why. Now, so far, we've only seen 7 cases of this BA.2.86 in 4 countries. Usually, this isn't enough to be, very concerning, but this new variant has about 34 to 35 mutations on the spike protein relatively to what is currently circulating. So, now just to give you a perspective, what was that 34, 35 mutations on the spike? What's that significant? Why it is significant? Now, it is a as big of an evolutionary jump, okay, from the original Wuhan to Omicron. So that is quite a lot. A good thing that there are some known mutations, which we'll briefly go over that. Now, so this one also it's currently spreading. Okay, there's an article here in Nature. I have all these articles in the description box. Now, this article does mention something that's pretty relevant, and it's being detected in country levels of wastewater samples without some corresponding reported cases. So it is spreading, and we are at a point that we're not tracking as closely as a year or two ago. So that is the current landscape of this new variant. So we'll keep an eye on that as we learn more in the coming few weeks. Now, is there any bad news? Okay, second thing I want to talk about, any bad news. Now, the biggest bad news is we really don't know much okay, about this variant, this BA.2.86 at this point. There's a lab called from by this Jesse Bloom, okay, Bloom's lab, okay, identify this variants have has 16 known mutations, okay, that can easily escape, our antibody immunity. So no surprise there. So meaning what it means is it's going to be likely having more new cases, and this is reflected with the increasing or uppicking of more hospitalizations in the last couple of weeks here in the US. So now this is regardless of prior vaccines or natural immunity at this point. So we're going to see more cases now, and the another side of the story is well, we're going to see a new vaccine too. All right, the U.S. is expected to have an updated XBB.1.5 booster, okay, in the mid September. But okay, like what we see here is that, let's see, I pull up that screen again. So, but we can see that, okay, according to this CDC tracking data here, XBB.1.5, it's really going away. All right, really forecast or projected, it's not going to be there by the time this vaccine roll out in mid-September. I hope we are always playing catch up with new variants. So we really need to rely on post-marketing surveillance data, okay, to see how well this new updated vaccines or booster, whatever you call it, how it will do in the real world. And okay, so that's sort of like a bad news. Now, do we even have good news? Now, I don't know. Do we even I should even use the good news in terms? Do we know anything? Okay, what we know really about this, what's coming up. So what is the good news is that it is still COVID. Okay, we've been dealing with COVID for so many years now. Looking back 3+ year, and we are in a much different position than in 2021 even, or in 2022. So most of us, okay, have some form of immunity, okay, so our immune system, or our immunological memory, okay, will recognize these variants, even though may not be as well as recognizing something that is previously circulating, right? So this is in a sense similar to recognizing a new flu strain every year. So some of us will get sick from this new subvariant coming up, some will not. Okay, there are a lot of variables, just like every season's flu season. Some of us get really sick, some of us don't get sick. There's a lot of things in play. Okay, overall health, age, your prior immunity, how long ago you've get sick again. So that's so many things. Hard to tell in the individual case sense. But I do see a little bit more uppicking of COVID, even in the people around surrounding me. So I have neighbors, just the whole family are currently dealing with a COVID infection. So, but overall, generally speaking, healthy people with a working immune system or immune competent will not get too sick in a sense of speaking. Now, do take note that official risk assessment, okay, there's I think UK or Europe in general has been doing a little bit better job in communicating in terms of or finding the relevant information. So they still do some weekly report, and this one was from last week from the UK government agency. Okay, but they're pretty conservative at this point. They're not making any bold predictions in terms of this new variants BA.2.86 infectiousness and as well as severity. All right, so that's really the current assessment that we have. So should we be too worried? I don't think we need to be too worried at this point. But basically, what is in our near future is that we are at the mercy of time right now, and in a few weeks, I think we should have some. Unfortunately, in vitro antibody data, which I know it doesn't mean much at this point, but I think both the industry and independent labs, industry, I mean those people that making the vaccines, would want to see how their new vaccines go against, or the antibodies induced by this new vaccine go against this new subvariant BA.2.86. Okay, now these experiment, honestly, I'm not too eager to go over those experiment. Even if we have those data, they're all going to show that how it's going to do some escape, so and so means very little. Okay, because like I said, we all have some type of immunity. It has so much individual variability at this point, and also antibody doesn't mean anything. And what, unfortunately, 3 years in, they always want to do just antibody titers, okay, to get the quickest information, and we really won't know the cellular immunity which protects against severe disease until much later, or so-called the real-world observational data, and that really has to rely on hospitalization data, matching up with prior infections and prior vaccine. It's a sticky type of a data, honestly. No data is currently very perfect. Okay, giving, like, again, the current landscape, the good thing I think is that, if not all, most places have scrapped their vaccine and mask mandate. So, just to share a personal note there, like, even though I have a lot of people surrounding me work in healthcare setting, and we've been talking more a little bit about this topic recently, and most of them didn't get the BA.4/5 bivalent, which rolled out last fall. So even though we're in healthcare, we still want to see convincing clinical data, really. And honestly, I expect only the most vulnerable people will be getting the XBB 1.5 vaccine when it rolls out in 2 weeks or so in time. So if you are in this group of people, okay, please keep in mind that this new vaccine, likely to help a little bit, but it's not going to give you a complete protections against infections. Okay, currently that is not a realistic goal. So they keep, making this iterate of new vaccine with updated spike, not having new technology, not having, not so eager with the, spray nasal vaccine or so. It's not really going to help a whole lot in terms of fending off infections. So along that line, I do have another point I want to touch, and after that, I'll go through the comments a little bit. So I'm not ignoring. I do see them popping up. Okay, I do see them popping up. Uh, Along the line, there's RSV. Okay, RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. It's also expected in the fall and winter seasons, and we did see a little upticking in November last year, so which is earlier than usual. Now, currently, we do have here in the U.S. I'm mostly referring to the U.S. I'm not sure about other market at this point. We do have a vaccine ready for RSV this year for age 65 and older. I made a video a couple months ago. If you want to learn more about that, about the virus, about the vaccine, is that something for you? Check out that video. The link is in the description box. Okay. Now, so if you have young children, which maybe your grandchildren, or for those of you that are in an older age group, that for your information, okay, for that's if you know someone 8 to 19 months old, they are potentially at high risk for severe RSV infections. There is a new monoclonal antibody just recently approved, and then let me pull up that page here. Like, so this is a monoclonal antibody brand name called Beyfortus. Okay, Beyfortus. Now, I'm not trying to market for them or anything, just to give you an information that is available to provide passive immunity. What passive immunity means is that it's not going to stimulate your immunological memory, so it's just a one-time thing. They will probably like to get it, need that again. Okay, so that is really the core information that I want to go over. Okay, in this quick update. It took me like what, a little bit over 10 minutes too, but anyway, so let me look at some of the chat here. I see all the friendly familiar name. Okay, thank you for tuning in, okay, with this unannounced live stream. So I'm not going to post it on a Sunday morning, so this is the substitute here. This is all about control. Yeah, it's really, a lot of the marketing there. I just say there's a lot of financial stake, as we have seen in the recent years. So it's not. very helpful, and a lot of us in the professions are not very convinced of what they've been doing recently. Honestly, is it possible to have a non-mRNA vaccine for COVID strain? Yes, Jonah. Okay, let me show you. Let's show this comment here. Yes, we. I think the Novavax is also rolling out an update of their versions of the protein versions of the vaccine. But the problem is, I haven't really seen it being carried a lot in pharmacy. So you have to really dig to find that vaccine here in the U.S. Um, there, yeah. So personal hygiene, definitely mouthwash, hand wash. That those are really good things to keep in mind to help protect yourself. Yeah. College has started. Yes, college has started. Has there been any indication this upstick is quickly due to? It's possible. And now college kids are a little bit in a different. What should I say? They're a little bit older. Okay, they should have a little bit stronger immunity. Okay, are they gonna be reporting? Okay, what they are getting? It's another thing. Okay, these days you don't have a good reporting system anymore. Most school don't track it anymore, so it would be self-reported. Okay, are they gonna do it? It's a question. Now, grade school kids are gonna start school soon. Okay, K to 12. Last year, if you remember, I did mention I made a video. My son, started school last fall, and then before Labor Day weekend, and he got it, took it home. But my wife had it. I was just fine. Okay, for whatever reason. So I think in a few weeks the young kids maybe going to be some spreader. It's expected. Like, so hello everyone that is tuning in. So for those of you who missed a little bit earlier part, definitely can catch up on that informations on the news variants and my assessments for what's coming up there. Um, Pharmacists gotta have some bias toward drugs. Yes, but if you follow enough this channel for a long time, I'm not that big of a fan for drugs. Yeah, Novavax is really promising. I feel like it's just they're being a smaller company, and for whatever reasons, like it's not navigating the market or navigating the regulatory system very well, unfortunately. Okay. Uh, yeah, age is not the only thing, definitely. And but thank you. Age is definitely not the only thing that is matter. You can be older and very healthy. Um, US is it tracking? It's definitely not tracking as much as a year or two ago. But hospitalizations, they are a little bit better because the hospital do need to report COVID, the diagnosis code and get certain reimbursements for those. So they are tracking. And now, is it with or for COVID, with COVID, all these terms, it is a harder differentiations. Okay, usually it requires some digging to see what's going on there. Um, all right. Yeah, it's tracking vaccine and unvaccinated age group. Those are usually need to be dig into a little bit further. They should be tracking, but they usually don't report right away. And from the previous few years, usually these data are being, pulled by CDC or some type of a research paper. Then they would compare in terms of vaccine and vax. And again, here at this point in time, uh, someone unvaxxed doesn't mean that they don't have immunity. Some vax, or they could have dropped in immunity. It's quite complicated. I think what they would want to know more is to have maybe a month in somewhere in October. Probably will look at this new vaccine rolled it out. Okay, this updated versions and see how it against whatever variants are going to be out there in 2 months. And at this point, no one can guess. This virus do mutate and rapidly mutate all the time. So that's the current forecast right now. So yeah, it's I definitely agree with you. COVID related. It's very hard to differentiate what is related, what is not related. Right, so that's pretty much of all the comments, and thank you really, for tuning in. The 41 of you that are watching live right now, I don't. I really don't expect that 41 of you will tune in at this point in time. But to wrap up, I do want to share a more personal message. If you don't want to hear my personal message, feel free to drop off. But I just want to, thank all of you and all this time trying to learn more from this channel from me, and I also learn a lot through all this year. And I know many of you watch this channel only because of COVID content. Not all, but I know many. And recently, you've noticed I have intentionally diversified my content with fewer and fewer COVID videos. Not that I don't care about the disease anymore, and on the contrary, I still care a lot, especially with long COVID and vaccine related injuries and some of those severe cases, like what I did a year ago with the patient interviews. I'm still reading a lot of new literature in that area, and recently they've been talking about some mitochondria, injury or something like that, along that line. And I'm trying to wrap my head around this topic and try to have an update on that one too. But unfortunately, like making these content, I sometimes makes me either really angry because is that the society is not recognizing enough of these uh, patients that are willingly to get vaccine and got injured, and that's angry and also sad at the time. And I try not to spread this kind of emotion on my channel to my viewers, honestly. And I know I've seen there are enough of this kind of channel on YouTube already, and I don't want to be another one of them. And I know that for the fact that I've been doing YouTube long enough, that I know whatever angries people are gonna get pick up views, and more views gonna means more ads revenue. But I don't want to capitalize on people's anger toward the pandemic or pandemic measures from government. So that is really not my intention for this channel, and I know some of you may not agree with that. So that, and you won't see me trying to really do those content, honestly. That's just not me. And my wish here, my visions for this channel is really to educate everyone to that watch this channel to make informed health decisions, meaning I give you enough information. Okay, you decide if that is something for you, that is something not for you, so that you have a more neutral ground to make your decisions and learn to live a healthier life, like what I said in my channel banner there. And I always think that preventing a disease with lifestyle modification always beats any treatment. Okay, beats with any medicines. That's my thing. And I have been trying to live a healthier life this whole 2023. And in fact, in the pandemic, I gained like 30 pounds or something like that. Like I was at 210, and it's definitely at an obese stage for my height and everything. And I can show you, some of the pictures, and I've showed some in the past. And this year I've been working really hard, and um, down 20 pounds, and a little bit much better health status than before. So I would really want to spread this positive to everyone that watch this channel. I know that may not be everyone's goal here, but and I'm probably in a much younger age than a lot of my viewer based on the demographic that YouTube give me. But I don't think it's late to start. Okay, everybody have a different pace and different stage of their life, and there's nothing's too late. Nothing is you can always pick up some movement, eat healthily, that more conscious about your food choice, okay, as well. Okay, so that's really what I want to share in terms of my personal message there. So that's all. Thank you again for all of you. Some of you like my like my funny short when I'm inspired. Sometimes I would make those things, but so sometime I would make it. Okay, uh, but thank you very much. Okay, so thank you again. Right, so thank you very much for watching. And if you share my vision for this channel, and I hope to see you again next week and many weeks after that. Okay, take good care. Here I'm on the Eastern time. That is almost 10 o'clock. I'm gonna have a good night. And for those of you who are in other time zone in West Coast, have a good evening. The rest of the night, and enjoy your Sunday coming up. Okay, take good care. Bye. Bye.